Okay, hi everyone. We're back for another episode of Maternal Minds. I want to say this is the sixth or seventh episode, but I can't be sure about much these days. So we're just gonna go for it. This is Yasmine. She's from New York City. Well, she lives in New York City. She's not from New York City. She has two children, and she's here to share about her experience with OCD and the comorbidities. So, do you want to explain further?
Yes, I am originally from Australia, in case people start wondering where the accent's from.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in the States since 2012. I have two little kids. Maddox is just over 2 and Alfie's about to turn 1. They're 16 months apart. I was diagnosed with postpartum depression 2 weeks after having Alfie, even though it started when I was 30 weeks pregnant with him.
Okay.
And backtrack to that, I definitely had undiagnosed PPA with Maddox, but I just put it down to being, neurotic first-time mum and not having any education surrounding, maternal mental health, and not really having a good, strong support system. I just have Mike, my husband.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a challenge.
Yeah, that sounds super challenging. So, I just want to get the facts straight. So, you had your first son, Maddox?
Yeah, I had Maddox in January of 2018.
Okay, and you had PPA that whole time, but it was undiagnosed.
Yeah, because and with the PPA, it then turned into OCD. So, but it's so crazy, and I don't know if I'm the only one that says this, but
Mm-hmm.
at the time, it didn't feel like there was something wrong. Like, it just almost became like a part of me. And I just thought, okay, this is how you're going to be a mum from now on, or, mother from now on. And this is,
Excuse me.
bless you. So the PPA, which then turned into the OCD. And
Well,
with the
can you
OCD,
elaborate what your symptoms were like for your
yes.
PPA?
For the PPA?
Both PPA, OCD.
Okay.
I think it was
Basically, I didn't trust anyone to hold him.
Mm-hmm.
Not even my mother-in-law. My mum, I would honestly have heart palpitations. If anyone held him, even Mike, my husband, holding him would give me such severe anxiety. Like, he would always have to be near me. I didn't leave the house. I was afraid to go for a walk. So I literally was in the house 24/7, and especially when Mike was working, it was just me and Maddox, and that was it. And then in time turned into a nighttime ritual where he had to fall asleep in my arms in the same way. I had to put him down in his crib the same way. I had to say the same thing over. I give him 3 kisses on the forehead before I put him down. Say the same thing over. Make sure the door's closed properly. Make sure I put the baby monitor and the night light, or the sound machine, on the same way every night. So it turned into that. And I was only becoming paranoid about the temperature in the room. It had to be like 72, and that was it. If it was 73, forget it. I would be up all night trying to figure out how.
Well, can I ask you, is it because you read that the prime sleeping temperature was between 68 and 72?
Yeah, because then it would
Okay, I read that too.
Yeah, and they would say like it was a higher rate of SIDS if it was any higher. So, oh my God, anxiety. I'm going to make sure that it's going to be below or at 72, which meant he was only allowed to be in certain pajamas. Like, they had to be like of certain material, like not too thick, not too thin.
Breathable.
Pardon?
Breathable,
exactly. And like, it honestly, like, at the time, it just became a part of me. But now that I look back, and obviously now because I'm still in the thick of it, it's so debilitating. It's really, really debilitating, because you can't let go. You have to be in control all the time.
So what happened if you couldn't do the ritual. Like, but I'm sure you just considered it your bedtime routine, right? It wasn't something that you were concerned about that was weird or off. Did you ever let your husband do it? If he stuck within the guidelines, it had to be you.
It had to be me. And even now, it has to be me with the 2 kids still.
So how does that interfere with your ability to get rest or get any breaks?
It interferes a lot. I don't sleep very well at night. I'm still breastfeeding Alfie, but that's like I think that might be another like OCD thing. Like I feel like I've breastfed him for almost a year, and if I stop now, I'm worried that something bad is going to happen to him. So that's the same with how I felt with Maddox. Like if I didn't do the same thing over and over, that nighttime routine, that something bad would happen to him during the night. So it's interfering terribly. And a lot of people, you know, don't understand. They just, you know, get over it kind of thing. But this is their life.
I know. I mean, I used to do the same thing with Lucas. I had to, when he was really little, only I would hold him. I couldn't sleep well holding him at night, obviously, because you're holding an infant.
Right.
But I wouldn't let my husband hold him, because if someone else held him, something could happen. He could die. But at the same time, it's like your mental health suffers even more because you're not getting any rest. But this unnamed illness, which you think is just your new way of mothering, is totally getting in the way and contributing to the cycle.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, like sleep deprivation makes my symptoms
worse.
What? Yeah. But then, like, you know, you need a good night's sleep, but like you still can't get there. You still can't let go enough to be like, okay, you know what, husbands, let's take the lead. And, you know, like, because it's hard for us to let go, you know?
Yeah. And what about your husband? So does he have any feelings about you not letting him do certain activities with them?
Okay, so at first when I had Maddox, he was like, okay, what is going on? Like, you don't trust me? Like, what's the matter? Like, you don't think I'm going to do a good job? You don't think I'm a good dad? And that made me feel even more like guilty for feeling the way that I felt for something that I didn't think I could control. But obviously now, fast forward, he is so understanding. He knows exactly what's going on, so he never pressures me. He never like, you know, says when I do this and I do that. He'll always ask like how he can help me, and he'll just let me take the lead. Like I used to be so like regimented with washing the bottles, and if I'm
that's like a classic symptom.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I just thought, okay, this is a part of me.
Were you that way with the first one too?
Yeah. So I just lived with it, and when I'm having a really bad day, I'll have to control the bottle washing. But if I'm having like an okay day, he'll wash the bottles because I need a break. Like, you know how hard it is to be just like the primary parent, and you know, it's super exhausting. It's exhausting.
So exhausting, because then since you have to be in control, you do all the things, then the kids only see you doing it. So then it's a weird thing where they don't even ask the other parent anymore, and it adds another layer of stress. And the whole thing, you're like, well, I wish I could let someone help, but you can't. It feels like you can't.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I wish I had so much help, but I say that, and then as soon as I think that, I'm like, who am I kidding? Like, come on, there's no way I would. No way. I would never like let anyone come in and help me with the house. And you know, before I found my current therapist, my previous therapist she said she dealt with PPD, but I don't think she really did. And she suggested that I like hire someone to come and watch the kids while I like take a shower and do stuff like that. And I was like trying to convey to her, there's no way I would let someone come into my house and do that, because that's just going to give me even more guilt, because I am a stay-at-home mom. I should be able to do these things for my children. And B, I don't trust anyone to come into my house and look after my children, even though I'm still in the house. So there's just so many different layers to PPD, all this, than just the symptoms, to be honest. It's so like, it's like an onion, really. You just like keep peeling away. And,
you realize there's so many, like from what you listed, I can think of already 3 different themes, for that the OCD has gotten a hold of, but like contamination from washing the bottles a certain way, fear of harm coming to your baby from another person, and then fear of that you're not going to be good enough because you're getting help. Look, first interaction of the day.
It's okay.
Yes. I've been looking for hours. I don't know. Ask Dad. Close the door, please. Thank you. Yeah, I feel like your experience is so similar to mine, and I'm sure similar to so many, because that's like why I think this series is so important, because it's hard enough to have OCD, anxiety, depression, but then you add on this whole mom thing and it just explodes.
Yeah, literally. That's the thing. It's like you're dealing with all these things that people can't see. It's not like an illness where you can actually see someone is sick. It's all in here. And a lot of people believe stuff all in here is kind of bullshit. And it's not, because imagine like fighting a war in your head and no one being able to see it, all while trying to raise kids.
And trying to maintain a front that nothing's happening. So it's like this horrible cycle, because you don't want anyone to know, but you're like, please notice.
Yeah. And why don't you notice?
Yeah.
100%.
So when your first pregnancy, all this was happening, did your husband like think anything was wrong, or did anyone close to you think you were suffering in any way?
None.
When did it start to get bad for you?
Pardon?
When did it start to get bad that maybe people were noticing?
No one noticed. My husband noticed when I was pregnant with Alfie. But I don't have like a super close relationship. I mean, to them, they would say I have a close relationship, but to my parents, I don't openly talk about things like this.
Yeah.
So they never really noticed anything was wrong. And when Maddox was like a week old, and I had him at 37 weeks because I had such high blood pressure. They got me in before it developed into preeclampsia. So I was induced and I was in labor for 2 days, and it was horrendous. It was horrible. Back labor. He came down the wrong way. Like, it was horrible. And I remember texting my mom when my mother-in-law was holding him, being like, hey, like, I'm like getting like heart palpitations, like hot flushes when she's holding Maddox. Like, is this normal? Yeah, it's normal. Like, you got to calm down, because like everyone wants to hold the baby. So, you're just being too neurotic. That then was the time that my mind told myself, okay, I am being crazy, because my mom says that it's normal to feel this way. And so that was like the history of like me rewriting, just, okay, you know what, this is normal. And it's not normal.
It's not normal.
I felt like I was dying. It was probably like some sort of panic attack. And I was still healing like physically from giving birth. And that was just like such a pivotal moment in my history with PMAD, that I was like, okay, I am crazy. Like, I must be going crazy. Like, people should hold him. And then Mike's family wanted to hold him as like Maddox got older, and I was suffering from Graves' disease at that time also, with my thyroid.
Oh, is that where it's like hyperthyroidism?
Yes. Horrible. I've never had an issue with my thyroid until about 4 months postpartum with Maddox. And all of a sudden I started having like hot flashes, and like my heart rate was through the roof constantly. My blood pressure was crazy high. I was shaky. I just felt horrible. And I found an endocrinologist, and the first thing he said was, you have Graves' disease. So I was on medication. And thankfully, when I got pregnant with Alfie, it went into remission, and I haven't, touched wood, had a problem since. But with Graves' disease and problems with your thyroid, it can cause depression, anxiety. So I just put it down to, oh God, it's my thyroid.
Yeah.
And it's actually, I'm sure it was my thyroid to some extent, but obviously I don't have an issue with my thyroid right now. So this isn't from that. So, I mean, so many things were just happening that I just couldn't pinpoint accurately.
And it doesn't help when people aren't offering any reasons or like solutions. Can you please close the door? I don't know. On the search for the missing iPad. I don't know.
Oh God.
I think John hid it and now he just doesn't remember.
Probably.
So, sorry, getting back to, so when you told your mom that you were feeling really nervous about other people holding her, that whole like, no, it's normal, but you need to relax.
Yeah.
I think is what prevents so many women from getting treatment and getting diagnosed early on, because you tell someone something and the general blanket statement is, you just gave birth. You're hormonal. Everything is, it's your hormones, it's your hormones, it's your hormones. But when is the line like, okay, so it's been a few weeks now. Technically, my hormones should have settled down by now.
Yes.
That can't be the answer for everything. And even if it is a hormonal problem, that can still be fixed.
Yes, exactly. And that's the thing. Like, I definitely knew I was suffering from the baby blues after Maddox. I was like crying, emotional and stuff, but it definitely was not to the extent of what I was feeling with Alfie. So when you're kind of brushed aside for saying something, your brain will automatically just put you to, okay, you are going crazy. Like, let's try to calm down. So, I mean, that's been my whole life with her. Me and her don't have like a super close relationship. So I'm not surprised she gave me that response, but it's definitely not supportive. And that's why I don't really trust anyone, because my own mother, I don't even trust. So how would I possibly trust anyone else to come into my home,
Yeah. So when did you finally like reach out to a doctor? And once you did, was it easy to get care?
So my 30-week appointment with Alfie, I said to my doctor, I'm pretty sure I have depression, because the rage started, the uncontrollably like crying all the time started, and I just started having these intrusive thoughts about like having him and leaving him at the hospital. And I knew that that definitely was not me, because all I ever wanted was to be a mum. So as soon as I started having these thoughts about, not wanting my second child, I went to him and I said, like, I honestly, I think there's something wrong with me. And he said, okay, let's just have the baby first and we'll see how we go. It could just be the hormones. So I was like, okay, hopefully it is the hormones. But I knew deep down something was wrong.
Yeah.
Because nobody knows yourself other than you, obviously. So I knew that something wasn't right. And so that was another, because I got induced with Alfie at 39 weeks due to high blood pressure again. So I had 9 weeks to manifest and get worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
So my head constantly. Mike was working crazy overtime because he was just about to go into vacation. So I was with Maddox all the time, heavily pregnant, just feeling like absolute shit. And I had Alfie, who was thankfully a very easy labor delivery. And that's when it got worse. And I got home 2 days postpartum. And I haven't really shared this story to many people, but Maddox wouldn't sleep. I think it was maybe the adjustment of having a brand new baby in the house.
Yeah.
And it was like maybe day 3. Sleep deprived, obviously, baby just constantly feeding, Maddox being clingy. I remember going into Maddox's room trying to get Maddox back to sleep. And Alfie was asleep finally, and I just like was thinking, okay, you know, like that's it, I can't do this anymore. I like had a thought of like jumping off a bridge, like just like I couldn't do this anymore. But I knew deep down I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't follow through with it. Like when push came to shove, I knew I wouldn't actually do it. But I just had these like horrible, like, you know what it's like, just super intense thoughts where it just feels like they're suffocating you. And I just remember thinking, okay, yep, I got to call my doctor because something is seriously wrong.
Well, because like, I just want to clarify, because some moms with PPD actually have thoughts of jumping off the cliff and they want to do that.
Yes.
So was that what you were experiencing, or was it more like a thought and you were like, why did I have this thought? That's not something that I'm really feeling.
It was more like I knew I wouldn't do it. It was more just like, first of all, why is it coming into my head? Why am I even thinking that? Like, I've never thought that before in my whole entire life.
Yeah.
Second of all, I honestly believe it was like the sleep deprivation. And thirdly of all, I knew something was wrong with me, and I just felt like such a burden, and like my kids deserve to have a better mum and my husband deserved to have a better wife, that they would be better off without me. So I knew I wouldn't do it, but I don't know, it was horrible. So I reached out to my doctor, and I was like 5 days postpartum, like the still baby blues period.
Yeah.
And they refused to get me in. And I called, and the receptionist put me through to the nurse, and she asked me like just the standard questions. And the question was, which determined her if it was PPD or baby blues, she said, do you want to harm your babies or yourself? I knew I would never want to harm my babies, but I was so embarrassed to say that I had thoughts of harming myself that I literally said no. Yeah. And she's like, oh, that's okay then, you don't have PPD, it's just the baby blues. So I was like, but what about like all these other symptoms that I'm having, like rage, crying, just like irritability, overwhelm? She's like, no, that's just all the baby blues. Like, go and try and relax, because the stress from your just like the stress that you're feeling, the anxiety that you're feeling can like go into your breast milk and upset your baby's tummy. Yeah.
Okay, first of all, I don't even know if that's true.
True, I know.
Second, like, what a thing to tell a mom. Like, okay, not only am I shrugging off your symptoms, but I'm also going to make you feel bad about having them because it's not good for your baby.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, like, what's not good for the baby is having a mom who can't function.
Exactly. And she said, the next time you feel like this, call me again and I'll talk you off the ledge. Yep.
Cool.
Yep. Awesome. So I was like, okay, yep, I must be crazy. Must be just the baby blues. But then like the symptoms were just like getting worse, and I knew something was wrong. Like I wanted it to be heard so bad. So I kept calling. I literally called every single day for 2 weeks to get an appointment. And I guess they got sick of hearing from me. So they put me in to see my doctor like the next morning after 2 weeks. And that's why he diagnosed me. But again, same thing. He asked if I had thoughts of harming my babies or myself. And he said, but before you answer that, if you say yes to either one of them, I have to commit you to the psych ward. And I was like, okay, no.
So where does that leave a woman? Like, what answer are you supposed to give? If you give the truth, you have to go to the hospital.
Yeah, I lied.
So you have to lie.
Yeah, I lied, because there was my kids and my husband were the only ones like keeping me like relatively sane and relatively calm throughout this process. If I was in the psych ward with like no clothes, no belt, like treated like I was actually, you know, going to hurt myself, then that would have made the recovery so much harder for me. So I obviously lied. I mean, who wants to leave their 2-week-old baby? Like, you know, he needs his mom. I can't imagine like,
especially because let's not forget you have PPD at this point, but you also still have your undiagnosed, untreated perinatal anxiety.
Yeah.
and you still are having OCD symptoms too.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so your PPD diagnosis you were able to get, and then what about the rest, the other two?
So I have only really, well, when I saw him for the PPD, he just said I had PPD, and then he gave me medication for Zoloft.
Mm-hmm.
And Zoloft did absolutely nothing for me. So in December, I actually ended up self-weaning because I was on the highest dose possible at 200, and it wasn't doing a damn thing except make me gain weight. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to self-wean and try and do this like on my own terms. I found a wonderful therapist back in November, and she's the one that's now diagnosed me with the other two, which I already knew anyway, because now that I'm more aware and I'm more educated on all of this, I knew that from the symptoms, I had more than like just PPD and PPA.
Yeah, especially with the OCD symptoms, with all the information online. If you have OCD, it's pretty easy to identify with all the information out there.
Yes, for sure.
So what were your main obsessions and fears with the OCD? And were you doing any compulsions at the time?
It's like a hard question to answer because I feel like it's so ingrained in me now that I can't differentiate between me being me and me having all these. It's I don't know if that sounds silly, but I think like for someone probably looking in, they may be like, oh my God, Yasmin's doing this, she's doing this, like that's crazy. But for me,
not crazy, it's just a symptom.
Yeah. I definitely know the nighttime routine has to be the same. And it's always around night. During nap time, I'm not as bad, and I don't know why that is. I think that might be because I'm awake. But I think at night, obviously, when we go to sleep, it's like a different thing. I mean, I have to check that before, because Mike works overnight, so I'm home by myself. And that is not good for my anxiety and OCD, because I have to check everything like so many times, like check the front door. Yep. Check the front door, check the back door, check the burners on the stove, check that the fridge is closed. Like I have to like charge their iPad like the same time. Like I have to do that first and then wash the bottles. Like I can't wash the bottles first and then do the iPad. Like have to get the charger. Oh my God. I have to get the charger like ready before I start doing all that type of thing. And I have to say the same things in my head before I fall asleep at night. And like talking about it is like, okay, yeah, that definitely doesn't sound like that's like normal behavior, but I would say probably that's my main.
Oh,
sorry. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Someone called the iPad. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can see you and hear you.
I can't hear you. Hang on.
Okay, now can you hear me? Okay, let's see. Maybe I'll remove you from the stream and then have you come back in.
I still can't hear you.
Okay, 1 second. Okay, now can you hear me? Hello?
No.
Maybe you...
Okay.
Sorry, guys. Okay, so she was having some technical difficulties, but she's going to come back in. And there we go.
Okay, I hear you now.
Hi?
So
okay.
Yes, I'm so sorry because Mike's phone is attached to the iPad and I think someone called him.
And then it like connects.
Yes. So I'm sorry.
Okay. So you were just telling me about your nighttime routine and rituals. So it sounds like you're still in symptoms, and you're like newly in therapy, right, for this? Or it's been a few months now?
Yeah, it's been since November, so however many months that is. But yeah, I'm still, I mean, I found a therapist when I was first diagnosed and I was with her for 4 months, but I pulled myself out of therapy with her because she actually made me a lot more anxious than she was helping me. And then I went for a little while trying to find someone that would actually accept my insurance. And I needed someone that actually dealt with postpartum related issues. I didn't want like a general therapist. So that also what made it a little bit hard to get help.
So that's the one that you're with now.
Mm-hmm.
And are you doing any like ERP for your anxiety and OCD?
She's cognitive behavioral therapist. So I find that good and I find that bad in the same, because sometimes I feel like I'm not making any improvement at all. And sometimes talking to me feels like I'm not making any headway.
Yeah.
She says that I would benefit from doing EMDR therapy for my past trauma, but I don't think I'm ready to tackle that as well as tackle like these symptoms, as well as trying to look after 2 kids. I don't like bombard my mind too much.
Well, because a CBT therapist, especially if she's treating you and she knows you have OCD and anxiety, if ERP is a type of cognitive behavioral therapy, and that obviously that really helps if you're able to do that. But I understand waiting or not starting right away, just because it can be hard. It's a lot of work. And when you have 2 young kids, even though it does help, it adds extra anxiety to your day.
Yes.
So you really have to be in that frame where you're just like, okay, fuck it, I'm going to do it. And I'm just going to be a little anxious, but it's not easy. I've done ERP while having small kids, and it's like, I waited a year before agreeing to do it.
Wow, really?
Yeah, because I was going through so much. Like, I had the older one, the baby, and then my father-in-law got sick, and then my husband also is a firefighter, and he's gone all the time. And then my father-in-law died. So we had lots of different things. My husband was going through grief. We all were, my son. And I just couldn't add that to the list. I'm sure it would have been helpful, but I was too afraid to make the jump.
Yes, totally.
I highly recommend that you just like make the jump, because it really helps. Like once I did it, I was like, oh, wow, that's like really made a difference. But it was one of those things where I just wasn't willing to do it. I'm not saying that you're not willing to do it, but it's
No, I understand. I know it's hard. First of all, it's hard for me to put myself first. So the fact that I'm even doing therapy for like 50 minutes a week is huge for me, because I've never put myself first ever. So that's a huge thing. And also, to be honest with you, I don't know if you can relate or anyone else can relate, but this has become such a part of me now that I'm almost afraid to let it all go, because I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know
like, who are you if you're not this way?
Exactly.
If you're not super hypervigilant, if you don't have a certain way of doing things, then who is Yasmine? You're just there with no coping tools.
Exactly. And that's what it feels like. It feels like, oh my God, if I let all this shit go, like, who am I going to be? Like, am I going to recognize myself? Like, and that's my way of thinking. And I'm sure everyone has something that they can relate to about that. But it's almost like, okay, this is like a safety blanket for me. My coping skills are the way that have got me through really, really horrible situations. And I wouldn't know how to let all that go.
Well, I mean, that's how it starts, right? That's why the compulsions are so seductive, because they do make you feel better.
Yep.
In that moment, you get some relief. It's just like long term, there's no real end.
Exactly.
Like you are so used to doing all these compulsions, and you're so used to living at a certain level of discomfort, right? In like anxiety or whatever it is, that you know how to exist in it.
Yes.
And then the idea of just stopping all that is truly terrifying.
Yeah, it is. It's like, some days I'm like, oh my God, I would love just to like not have anxiety for one day. But then I'm like, okay, who am I kidding? Like, there's no way I can like not have anxiety for one day, because then I'm just going to feel like not me. And I think that's part of what holds me back from going into more intense therapy like EMDR, because I'm just like, okay, because I've heard that that's super effective for trauma.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Pardon?
I've heard that too. And there's a couple OCD accounts, or one that I can think of. I'll try and give you the information later, but she did start doing EMDR, and she said it helped her tremendously.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, they say like you only need like a couple sessions, you start to feel better, and it's like, oh my God, there's something out there that actually makes you feel better and makes you like.
So does ERP.
I'm gonna have to look it up, because I didn't know about that. I mean, I just been doing this CBT whatever, and
Yeah.
just doing the same thing and trying to work through everything that I've been suppressing like for such a long time.
There's so much to it. Once you start digging, it's like,
yeah.
Oh, okay, we're not here just for this.
Exactly.
So who's been your biggest supporter through all of this besides your therapist?
Definitely my husband. He may not understand, obviously, but he definitely tries to understand, and he has been so supportive, and he will help me through. And I know that I'm a hard person to deal with sometimes. When I'm having like a really bad day, I will shut down. I will just go on my phone. I won't really interact, like obviously look after the kids, but like won't really like make conversation with him. And he gets it. And like I'm now slowly starting to open up to him, which sounds crazy. We've been together like 5 years, and I've only just told him some things like that's happened with my past. And he sticks with me throughout everything. And he's just been my number one fan. And thank God I have someone, because I know, honestly, if I didn't have him, like it would be so hard trying to navigate life with all of this. But being a fireman,
they're helpful people, and they're steadfast.
Yes, and that's the thing. Like they want to help, and but being a fireman's wife is hard too. And I don't think people kind of understand that, because it's really hard.
You're alone a lot, and you have a lot of responsibility.
Yes.
And you kind of just have to do it. Like I don't know. There could be days where I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have a panic attack. And he's like, got to go to work. See you in 48 hours.
I know.
Like, okay, I guess we're just doing this then.
Yeah, you have no choice. You just got to do it. And that's like what people ask me. How do you do it? How do you look after 2 little kids like that are so close in age, while dealing with postpartum depression, while having PPA?
Well, you're so strong for doing that. I don't think anyone can.
But like, that's the thing. Mike's like, you're doing a great job. Like, and I tell him, like, I have no choice. Like, I have no other choice. Like, it's not like one day I can turn up and be like, all right, see you, I'm out. Like, I can't do that. You know what I mean? So I guess plug along as best as I can, and just keep going and keep going. And some days I'm okay, but that's because I suppress a lot of emotion and suppress my feelings. That's the problem.
Well, there has to, I mean, you have to get through it. You have to get through the day. And kids are so small, like, even if you chose not to suppress your emotions and you just burst into tears, they're not going to stop and be like, oh, mom's sad. I guess I'll stop with my tantrum. I guess I don't really need that bottle right now. I don't care. It keeps going anyways. So your best bet is to just be like, okay, well, I guess I'll just swallow this shit for now.
Yeah, exactly. I'll deal with it later. That's the problem. Like, you gotta just keep going. You got no other choice.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. I have a few more questions I just need to check.
Yeah, that's fine.
So what has been your biggest obstacle in kind of just like saying, okay, I'm gonna do what I have to do and I'm going to take the time for myself and I'm just gonna deal with the PPA, the PPD, and the OCD?
As in, what stopped me from like getting help? Or
Yeah. Or not getting help, but like what's been your biggest obstacle in recovery? Like for some people, it's getting the right care. For some people, it's just like maybe fear of doing the treatment, or for some people, it's money.
okay, the first obstacle was trying to get the proper care, because, as I said, I needed to find someone that dealt with postpartum issues and not just a general therapist. My insurance is through my husband and they're very limited with who they accept. So my therapist actually put me on a sliding scale, which thank God she did. So that was the reason why I was delayed in getting like adequate help. The other issue was with my medication. I know I needed to be on medication. Some days I still think I probably should. But because I'm still breastfeeding, I went to several, probably, yeah, at least 5 or 6 different people for medication, and they wouldn't prescribe anything other than Zoloft because I was breastfeeding.
Oh, is that supposed to have the least side effects or something?
Yeah, it's supposed to have the least side effects.
But that wasn't working for you.
Oh, it was horrible. It was horrible. I mean, I had done enough research on antidepressants to kind of be like, okay, this sounds like it would be okay, but like I wasn't sure if it would be good for breastfeeding. And, you know, the amount of people that told me, oh, just stop breastfeeding and like put yourself first. Yeah, okay, because like it's so easy to do that. Let me just stop breastfeeding all of a sudden. Like I can't stop that all of a sudden. So those probably were my hardest obstacles. And I became very close with 2020 Mum and the Blue Dot Project. And they were the ones that actually helped find my therapist, because otherwise I don't think I would be able to find her. So I was really thankful that they, came to my aid and helped me find someone. But I had called people on like the postpartum support international website, and the people that I had called, A, either weren't accepting my insurance, B, weren't accepting new clients, or C, once I told them like some of my symptoms, they said that I should go straight to the psych ward. So I had so many. Can you
tell me what's it? The Blue Dot Project?
The Blue Dot Project. Yeah, it's
Are they on Instagram?
Yeah. They're doing a huge thing now for the Maternal Mental Health Week.
Can you spell it? BLUE?
BLUE DOT and then project.
Blue Dot Project. And what was the other one? 2020 Moms?
2020 Mom, yeah. 2020 is in like spelt out in the numbers, and Mum, I think. I don't know if it has an underscore or anything, but you should be able to find it.
MOM? I'm just making a banner on the bottom.
Yeah, that's okay. MOM, yeah.
Okay. I'm glad you got this, you were able to find your therapist.
Because what I had done was back in October, I went to my Instagram and I made a letterboard that said, I have postpartum depression and no one will help me. And I think someone from the Blue Dot Project found that and contacted me, and then put me in contact with the founder of 2020 Mum. And she has been like a huge advocate for me. So without them, I don't think I would have found this this therapist at all. Like, I don't know where I would be without them. So they've been super helpful, and that's who I went to in February. I shared my story at the 2020 Mum Summit. Yeah, so they've been huge.
Well, great. Thank you for sharing your story with me. I feel like lots of people can resonate. I mean, I relate to so many things that you talked about. But I mean, just keep doing what you're doing. I know how hard it is to be a fireman's wife and to have 2 kids and to be doing it all with, while you're struggling. Yeah. No help.
Yeah,
sure.
I know. Thank you for having me on and allowing me to share my story. It's like cathartic at the same time. Too. Like, it's hard to talk about, but then like once you start talking about it, you kind of open the floodgates a little bit. So thank you for holding this space for me.
Can you just say one more thing about like where you're at right now and what your goals are for future treatment or anything?
Okay. Obviously currently in therapy. Probably looking into tackling like past trauma, so going to therapy for that. And later on, my goal, once I'm 100% and fully healed and over all this shit, I hope to do something like in this space. I don't know what it is, but I know that I was given this for a reason. And that's why I'm like such a huge advocate for this. So I definitely want to do something in this arena. I just don't know what it is yet, but hopefully I'll think of something soon.
Okay, do you want to tell any listeners where they can find you if they want to hear more?
Yes, I have my Instagram, and that is at my life as mama, and I have the full stop in between each. Yeah, that's it. Perfect.
There, Yasmin, my life as mama. Okay, thank you so much, Yasmin. Thanks for taking the time, and it was nice to meet you finally.
Me too. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.